This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, this afternoon, it is Sunday, May 19th. We've got a service call on an exhaust fan not working. This is an emergency overtime service call, and they're saying that it's not working. So, let's get all these opened up. I'll get a screwdriver, we'll pop this top and have a look at what's going on inside this exhaust fan. Pop the top on it. Motor's warm, but it's not like burning hot like it's off on overload. Let's look at the power switch. It's in the on position. Nothing changes when I flip the switch. Let's open up this right here and see if we can check power at the switch. All right, this is our power switch. Now I don't know which side of the switch is line voltage and load voltage, but I'm checking one side and we have nothing. So let's go ahead and check the other side and we have nothing. We've got no power to this exhaust fan at the moment. So we're gonna go ahead and switch this guy off. And we need to check to see if we have, it's got to be a problem downstairs, whether it be a breaker or a motor starter or a power switch. So we need to see if we have any direct shorts to ground. So what we're going to do, what we need to do real quick is check voltage to ground just to be safe, because we're going to put our meter on continuity or tone, and we're going to tone out to see if there's any direct shorts to ground, but we don't want there to be any voltage left whatsoever. So I'm going to check real quick each leg to ground to make sure it's absolutely dead, and then we'll get on to the continuity test. No voltage and there's no continuity to ground, but on the bottom I do have resistance to the motor. So it's a three-phase motor, so we're checking resistance across the three legs. Should be pretty much equal, 4.8, 4.8, 4.9. So to me it seems like the motor's good. So we need to go downstairs and see what's going on in the control circuit, the motor starter panel, or the circuit breaker. So the circuit breaker's turned off, but why is the question. Yeah, I don't know why that was turned off, but we don't approach it as it's just an off switch. We come back, so I had shut this off, so we should have voltage on the top of this guy. It's my chopstick action going on here. All right. So line 1 to 2, 203. Line 1 to 3, 203. And line 2 to 3, 203. So why is the breaker off? Okay, let's open this up in here and see if we have enough wire to get the amp clamp on here. So this is line voltage, this has power. I'm a little worried because they just got a whole new roof put on this building, and look at this. I don't know what that's about. So I'm gonna very carefully, see if I can pop this up. There we go. I don't smell anything burnt in there. I don't know why it's loose like that. So what we're gonna do is get an amp clamp on here. I don't know if this thing's gonna start or not, but if it does, we get an amp reading now. So again, let's investigate up in here. No burning smell. Motor doesn't seem burnt, power's off, bearings seem okay, belt is tight, everything looks like it should. The wheel's spinning. Let's pull this lid and open this up and see if there's anything stuck in the wheel. Again, maybe the breaker was tripped and the manager just turned it off. I don't know, you know, so we're just assuming the worst here. Okay. It really helps to have good hinges, right? Although, what the heck, man? Oh no, there's bushings there, okay. I don't see anything stuck in here. The wheel is nice and free, so no problems there. All right, well, let's hinge it back down and try to turn it on. I for the life of me, have no idea why this is off. I looked at the motor nameplate, it says 3.02 amps is the total run load amps for that motor. So 1, 2, 3, please don't blow up. Has a slight vibration, but it's not exploding. It's running in the right direction. counterclockwise. mean, nothing concerns me about the operation. We're allowed to run 3.02 amps, and we're running 2.0. I, for the life of me, don't understand why this thing was off at the circuit breaker. I'm gonna watch it operate for a few minutes. I don't know why the breaker was off, but I have a hunch. First off, these fans kind of look like they were just cleaned to me, okay? Now they're not like super sparkly clean, but what concerns me is when I walk over to the edge of their roof, over this way, there is a crap ton of grease, and you can see people have been walking in it. And someone washed it down the drain. Now the grease cleaners, when they come on the roof, they're supposed to use like an additive that they put in the grease that breaks it down, and they're supposed to clean it up. I don't think they're supposed to be washing it down the drain. And the fact that there's a puddle of grease right here, all just sitting here, this is like the low spot on the roof. I think, and you can kind of see that it looked like it was washed from over here down. There's like a whole trail. So I think they had the grease cleaners here. Now, oftentimes when the grease cleaners come out, they'll leave the exhaust fans off at the switch inadvertently. But again, it still doesn't make sense as to why the breaker was off. But the manager put in their work order that they checked all the breakers before they called me out. They flipped all the breakers, they checked. It almost makes me wonder if maybe they turned the breaker off, but the switch was off on the roof. I don't know. I don't understand. When I got up here though, the switch was in the on position. And I might be trying to figure this out a little bit too much, but if the switch was originally in the off position, then someone went downstairs and flipped the breaker off, then came up here and turned the switch into the on position, the fan wouldn't have turned on. Again, I'm trying to make sense of something that I don't understand. I have no idea why this breaker was off. There's a slight vibration. The fan does have a little bit of grease in it, because you can see it kind of poured out just a little bit. But I don't know. I don't understand. But I'm gonna watch it for a few more minutes, and I'm gonna get out of here because it's Sunday and I had plans to cook dinner with my family. I'm not gonna babysit this all day. I'm gonna get the customer to let me come back because I can hear other loose belts, and these make-up units right here have plugged up outside air screens on both of them, and there's a bunch of dirt and stuff on the walk-in cooler condenser right here. And look at, like, it looks like the grease cleaners were using my condensing unit as something to wash off their grease or something. I don't know. This is a mess. But yeah, I'm not going to spend too much more time here. Look at this. Got a jacked up conduit right there. Yeah, I'm going to try to get them to create a work order, and we can try to dial this stuff in and get it cleaned up. But yeah, that's it for today, I guess, because it's running. Disaster averted. 3:45, I could still make it home. It'll take me about an hour to get home because there was some pretty bad traffic, and I can still make dinner tonight. So that's it for this one, and we'll try to continue this if I come back.
Well, I figured this out. They had a walk-in freezer delivery. The manager turned off the freezer breaker. When he turned on the freezer breaker, his hand traveled across and shut off the fry hood, and I confirmed with him that's what he did. I love to figure this stuff out.
All right, I am back. It's another morning. We are going to double check the belts on all the other exhaust fans, the makeup air units, because I can hear them squealing, and then we're going to clean the outside air filters on the makeup air units. Since I'll have the hose up here, we'll go ahead and rinse those condensers too. So let's get on it. Just try to get this done before they start cooking. I can definitely hear something with that one too. But look at this one. I've got power turned off, so that's super loose. Now there is a spare in here. Whether or not it's good, I don't know. Let's see. Sometimes yeah, that's a new spare. So sometimes you'll find old spares. So we'll get that put on, and then we'll check the other ones. You know, don't just slap belts on. Kind of look too. Look at the wear patterns. Now this isn't an ideal way to check whether something's level, but I mean, from this pulley to this pulley, it should not be that much off. Now keep in mind though, this pulley's an adjustable, this is a fixed. They're always going to have different thicknesses on the walls and different things. So like I said, this is not a valid way to check to make sure it's perfectly aligned, but this is a gross misalignment. So looks like I have room to move this one down possibly, so we can loosen those up and maybe see if we can get that to slide down, and then we'll tighten it up. So what I do is put a little penetrating oil carefully. You don't want it to go crazy, get down into the bottom bearings, but I had to put a little bit. Little penetrating oil, and then some sandpaper. Sand the bottom down here, sand up there, and then hopefully we can pop this key out right here. So we'll just loosen this, pop the key out, and then this should theoretically tap down. Shouldn't take too much. Got to be careful because you don't want to hit it too hard because you don't want to damage these bottom bearings, but it can take a little bit of tapping here. So we'll knock that down, try to get it aligned, and then we'll tighten up the belt. Shoot, all that I did was loosen up these set screws, and look, it's already moving. So dikes right there, just like that. Using that motion, we'll be able to clean that key up. Just set that right there so we don't lose it. And then this guy should be able to get lowered. Yeah, nice and easy. Actually, that's gonna go down, no problem. Cool, so we already got it. So I'll put the new belt on and then we'll tighten it up. All right, you can see it moved down a good 1/4 of an inch. And again, this is not the perfect way to tension a belt and to check alignment and stuff, right? But another thing you have to consider too is the fan actually level, you know? So you gotta look at that kind of stuff. You got to make sure that it's sitting level. Different variables can come into play here. So, you know, the fan left to right is level. What about this way? It's a little off level. So again, you can't just assume that like, okay, that's the perfect way to do it. So what I'm doing, you can get laser alignment and stuff out, but in my situation, I can pop my head in here and I can see the way the belt's riding in here, and you can see a lot from that. The pulley's slightly worn, but it's not bad. We're nice and tensioned. We dropped it down. Another thing to consider too that I've seen is why is it that far out of adjustment, and what caused it to be that far out of adjustment? You know, did someone mess up or did the motor drop? A resilient mount motor very easily can drop out of the resilient mount bracket. So always pay attention and try to figure out why before you correct things. In this situation, I think someone just messed up. I don't see any other issues here. Everything seems fine. So we're gonna fire this back up. Belt's nice and good. I threw that old belt in there as a spare, just as a temporary spare. We'll talk to the customer and see if they want me to get belts or leave it be. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one. I can tell that that belt's loose just by the way it's sitting in the pulley. You can see it. So right down here, it's an older fan, is the power switch. Best bet is to let them slow down by themselves. If you are going to use something to slow them down like a screwdriver, you need to make sure you don't put yourself in harm's way. Oftentimes you can do things like grab this center point right here, but again, your best bet is just to let them slow down on their own. But yeah, definitely. So AX20, that's the same size as this one, and there's not another spare. And this one is not, I don't want to touch this one because this one's back on. It's just not on downstairs, but that's an AX23. So we are gonna have to get some belts. But you have two AX20s. In my personal opinion, you don't need a spare for both. As long as you have one spare for the two. That's usually how we roll. So I will run and go get an AX20. Now this is a really old exhaust fan that has these bearings in the middle. So this bracket right here holds the shaft and the bearings, and they're actually just bearings, and they just sit inside this little race right here. Old school. I remember the first time I saw those 20 something years ago, I was like, what the heck? And then you would just have to go to the motor supply shop and get some bearings. Pretty cool. But all right, I'm gonna turn that back on. We're gonna run and go get some belts, but before I do that, I'm gonna check the belts on everything else. Check this out. Got a nice, it's not over tightened, but I got a tightened belt on here. But now the wheel is hitting something. And when it slows down, you can hear the bearings. Bearings are jacked up. What the heck, man? No good deed goes unpunished, right? Now we gotta talk to them about, we gotta open this up and see why the wheel's hitting. I bet you that lower bearing's bad. Let's see. No, not really. Doesn't feel like it. Why the heck is it hitting all of a sudden? All I did was put a tighter belt on there. So the fan has hinges, so I just hinged it. Let's see. I mean, the wheel's not, it's just hitting. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, look at, the motor's not sitting. So the wheel is on the other side of this cone, and it's on this side of this cone. What the heck, man? Yeah, this thing's all out of balance. That stinks. Or not out of balance, it's something's off camber or something's messed up in there. Just the moving of the fan, something's moving in there because I put it back down and now it's not hitting anymore. But those bearings sound rough. So I'm getting the information off the fan. So what we need is the wheel size, the curb size, the roof curb, because we need to know the new fan needs to fit over it. We're gonna have to do some cutting because their hinges are welded on, but that's fine. We need to know motor information, pulley information, and from that, and the type of orientation, up blast, down blast, what's inside of it. We'll just do a grease fan just to be safe. Also got to take into account it's like in a little pocket here, so it has to lean forward and be able to fit through here. We're probably going to go back with the same, we'll go back with like a Cook fan, so that way they kind of match. They still got this one that we rebuilt a while back, but let's put a Cook fan in here, and then yeah, that's what we'll do. So I got all the information down, got to look at everything though. This is for a replacement fan, but look at how close it is to this wall. So we have to take into account the measurements on that and the measurements on the fans. The other fans I'm not too worried about, but this one is a critical one. So I'm just going to make sure I take an image of the curb. So approximately 11.5 inches. The wall is away from this side of the curb. The new fan will sit. So we gotta make sure that if I get a Cook fan to match everything else, that it's actually gonna fit up on this roof and still be able to hinge properly. So you gotta think big here. You don't just, you know, oh, it needs a new fan and let someone else figure it out, you know? Obviously you gotta wait for your management to tell you what to do and stuff, but you gotta think big, and this will help the job go smoother. All right, got all the fans running now. Belts tightened up, they're good to go. That one's running. This one right here, makeup air units are running. I'm gonna clean the filters real quick. This one's running. I'm lucky enough that they actually have hot water that I can hook up to, so that'll make cleaning these condensers a breeze. So we'll do that real quick and then hopefully be done here. Yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Hot water is amazing. Got to be careful with these micro channels. The water goes right through and gets on the condenser fan motors and they're totally open. So you don't want to short anything out, so be cautious about shooting direct through. But look at all this stuff coming out of that just from really hot water. But you got to be careful. Depending on the restaurant, they have commercial water heaters. They'll have the temp set pretty high. I've seen it explode older hoses. And then also on older restaurants that don't have redundant water heating systems, so sometimes like these restaurants will have 2 water heaters, you can actually run them low on hot water. So be cautious about that, paying attention to things. And then try to hose everything off that you created, you know, to try to prevent that from being sucked back up. Notice this is like a pooling area right there. So when I wash all this down, it's theoretically going to get sucked into that condenser. So think big here. Look at how bad these filters are. Look at what's coming out of them just with hot water. Be amazed the power of hot water. These things are plugged. So this is your building balance, because these are the makeup air units. This is what brings the air back into the building. These are more or less bird screens just to prevent birds and bugs from getting in there through the makeup air. But when they plug up, they become a big restriction, and then your building goes negative as far as the air balance goes. All right, all is said and done. Everything's back on. I'm doing a once over. For the most part, clean, you know, my mess, but you know, you're not going to scrub the entire roof. Condensers are cleaned, back on, and I washed as much as I could down the drain. That's a natural low spot, so that grease that I saw at the beginning of the video is probably just them not washing their grease completely down. But all right, that's it for this one. Customer's going to be happy. We're going to talk to him about a new exhaust fan for right here, and we'll go from there.
Couple things. Number one, when I'm on overtime, you know, I'm only going to do so much, right? If it's a critical piece of equipment, we're going to do what it takes to get it working, refrigeration, air conditioning, whatever it may be. But on an exhaust fan, you know, in this one, I got the exhaust fan that they called about running, but I'm not going to spend my entire day cleaning the equipment, you know, spending my Sunday doing that. Okay, that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to get their equipment running. I know a lot of people make comments that, you know, well, I should get it all done the first time I'm there. That way I don't have to charge them a travel time back and all that stuff. But guess what? my Sundays are important to myself and my family. So I'm there to get their equipment going. I'm always there for emergencies, but I'm not there for normal routine maintenance, right? Even if it's going to cost them another travel charge or whatever travel time back, that's fine, because I'm just finding things, right? They don't do routine maintenance. So I happen to notice, hey, there's some stuff that needs to be cleaned. If you want to generate a work order, I can come back out when we're not on overtime and we'll get it going for you guys, right? But I'm not there to spend my entire Sunday just cleaning stuff. That's not what I'm doing. And same goes for my employees. Now, if my employees want to clean stuff on a Sunday, they're free to do so. If management wants them to do so, probably save them a couple bucks, even though they're paying overtime, sure, so be it, right? But, we don't force that on anybody. And it reflects on me too. I'm not there to do all the cleaning and everything and get everything going. I was there for one exhaust fan. I could hear there was other loose belts. I brought it to their attention. We went back out the next week. Okay. So I like to dig into things. I'm a curious person, right? And I don't like to accept the fact that something was just off like that. Why was it off? I always dig into it. What happened here? So, after I figured it out, after I went through all the steps, and I don't just assume it was off, I go through the steps. I assume that someone turned it off for a reason. Maybe it was making noise. Maybe it was sparking. Who knows? So that's why I'm going to check to make sure nothing's stuck in the fan. Because if there was a towel stuck in there, it would be vibrating like crazy, and the manager might go shut it off, right? In my head, the hamster wheel's spinning. I'm trying to figure out why they shut it off, okay? Maybe someone was on the roof and it was sparking. Okay. So I'm going to do my best. Right. I really sat the managers down or pulled, there was 3 managers on duty that day, and I pulled them to the back and I said, look, this breaker was off and it's driving me nuts. Why was it off? They told me they checked the breakers before I came. What actually ended up happening was they didn't check the breakers. They checked the motor starters. They literally pulled the covers off the old Siemens or furnace motor starters and looked in there and said they weren't tripped. Man, that's kind of sketch. You ever seen one of those things? They look very intimidating when they're energized and they buzz and they freak you out. Motor starters, the old school heater style ones, man, they used to freak me out when I was a kid. But anyways, I've been doing this for so long. So in my conversation with management, I asked them, hey, did you guys, why would you shut that breaker off? Were you guys in this panel? And then I saw the walk-in freezer, the walk-in cooler breakers. And I know for a fact that they shut those breakers off when they do product deliveries, because what happens is oftentimes the delivery trucks will come and they will put all the frozen stuff in the walk-in freezer. They just stack it on the floor. Then they put all the refrigerated stuff in the walk-in cooler. They stack it all on the floor. And then when the kitchen staff gets there, they can't even get in the walk-in freezer and the walk-in cooler. So what they have to do is they have to open up all the doors and they have to pull all the product out that the delivery guys set on the floor. They put it out in the kitchen, then they unbox it and they organize it and they work their way all the way to the freezer. And we used to have so many problems. We actually still do have problems with these customers, these restaurant customers, when they do that, because they leave the doors open, they leave the fans running. So we've learned to train these people to turn off circuit breakers, turn off power switches, whatever it be. So I talked to the manager, and the manager said, yes, we were in the freezer today organizing stuff, and I did shut off the breaker. And I go, cool, do me a favor. It popped in my head right when he said that, and I had the other 2 managers there. And I shut off the breaker to the freezer, and I said, do me a favor, turn that breaker on. He turned it on, and his fingers traveled right across, and it shut off the walk-in freezer. And his eyes went, bong, right when he did that. Oh my gosh. And then the other managers were like, and I go, that's why the breaker was off right there, So when he turned on the walk-in freezer, his hand traveled across just like mine did, shut off the exhaust fan breaker. Boom, problem solved. I felt so much better because I hate walking away from a problem, especially on a Sunday, right? I'm about to go home and start cooking dinner with my family. The last thing I want is for them to call me back 2 hours later and say it's off again, So I really like to dig into it. So we did that. We figured that out the first day. I brought the other things to the manager's attention. We came back out, tightened up the belts, got them some spares, cleaned up the make-up units, cleaned the condenser for the walk-in freezer, and the management is happy, staff is happy, kitchen's happy, I'm happy. So thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Follow me on all other social media platforms under HVACR videos. I post short form content, posts, all that good stuff. If you're interested in supporting the channel, the easiest way to support this channel is just watch the videos from beginning to end. It really is, okay? But there's other ways to do so. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. There's links in the show notes. Those are all monthly commitments that you can make that helps to support the channel. You can also go to TrueTechTools.com. You can use my offer code BIGPICTURE, one word, for an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website. There's a few things it doesn't apply to, but when you use my offer code, I get a small commission from that. So that's another great way to help support the channel, and you get tools out of it, right? Last but not least, you can go to my website, HVACRvideos.com, where we have merchandise available. Again, you can pick up a hat right here. HVACR Videos hat, black underbill. They're breathable materials, but they're not a trucker cap, flex fit. There's all kinds of different styles. There's snapback flat bills. There's dad hats that are for bald people with really small foreheads. The dad hats don't fit me because my forehead's about 9 inches tall. So yeah, it just doesn't work. But again, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one.